you ever said yes to an invitation and then immediately prayed for a snowstorm to cancel it so you wouldn't have to go? We've all heard the advice, set boundaries, say no more often. No to overcommitting, to work that doesn't fit our lifestyle, to the people-pleasing that drains us. But there's one thing you can say no to that makes the biggest positive impact on your well-being. And yet most people are not saying no to this. It's the no that adds the most joy, the no that creates the deepest fulfillment. It's this: saying no to convention, to the status quo, to expected customs. There is concrete evidence that defying convention actually builds psychological resilience and creates better mental health outcomes. It's even been shown to increase longevity. So why are we not saying no to it? Why are most people not saying no to convention? Well, first, it's because we don't even realize we're saying yes to it. In the last few hours alone, you have said yes to more than a dozen things without even realizing. Yes to breakfast, what you ate, when you ate it. Yes in how you greeted someone. Yes in the way you edited yourself before speaking. Tiny yeses so ingrained, you didn't even feel them. But every one of those yeses is you agreeing to someone else's rules instead of following your own decisions. Now, obviously, we should not rebel against all rules for the sake of rebellion. Thank goodness we have common guidelines that make our society work, saying please and thank you, holding the door for someone behind you, covering your mouth when you cough or sneeze. Most people would agree these are rules we want to follow and hope that everyone else follows. But every day, we are following rules that, if we think about it, really don't work for us. Decorate your home this way. This is what it means to be a good mother. Don't wear white after Labor Day. Do this in order to feel successful. Do not dye your hair purple. Actually, strike that, because that should be a law that everybody follows. But here is the fun truth. All of these rules are made up. So why not write your own? Actually, you can. My slides aren't working. But why should we be defying convention? A few years ago, I was handed the kind of news that changes your life. You have cancer. Now, the conventional script says that you're supposed to treat that diagnosis with solemnity, with privacy. You're expected to go into battle mode, to put your head down and fight, and hopefully emerge stronger once it's over. But that didn't work for me. Instead of fighting, I wanted to embrace and see what I could create with this. After weeks of news that just kept getting more scary and more dire, there was a glimmer of hope, a treatment that looked like it could work. And so I focused on that very good news. I went online and I announced my diagnosis in a Facebook post that began, "I'll start with the good news. I'm having a mastectomy." And that post, by the way, became the foundation of turning my entire cancer journey into a very colorful, very public adventure. But at the time, people thought I was crazy for comparing a mastectomy to good news. But finding those little glimmers, those silver linings in tough situations is how I get through life. And so throughout my journey, can we show a slide? Throughout my journey, if you'd like to take a look, I looked for the funny and I shared it. I painted my scalp to look like a beach ball. I sang songs about the 37 wigs that I purchased and never wore. Look at my wigs, aren't they neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? And these moments of irreverence seem to appeal to a lot of people. Community showed up, and more than 400 million views and tens of thousands of comments and messages sent to me showed me that my story wasn't just mine. It struck a chord with millions of others too. What could have been the worst year of my life, no, strike that. It should have been the worst year of my life, according to the conventional script, right? But it became somehow the best. And that's when I knew you do not have to follow the conventional rules of healing. By defying convention, by choosing sharing and joy and humor, I discovered resilience that I never knew I had. And science backs me up on this. A wide-scale study published in BMJ Mental Health, a peer-reviewed medical journal, followed more than 10,000 adults for over 12 years. Researchers found that those who stayed true to their own values, rather than conforming, even when life got hard, had a significantly lower risk of death than those who conformed. They were much more likely to live longer than those who just went along with expectations. So, did I, unknowingly at the time, save my life by following my own rules? I was not a part of this particular study, but I would like to add my story as further proof. So let's zoom in on this idea of conformity, because the truth is, we are all experts at it. We follow unwritten rules, not because they're laws, but because everyone else does. 5 monkeys are put into a room. In the center is a ladder with a banana on top. Obviously, when a monkey notices the banana, he begins to climb up the ladder to get it. But before he can get to the banana, all of the monkeys in the room are sprayed with ice-cold water from a hose. And this continues. Anytime a monkey goes to get the banana, they're all sprayed with cold water until they stop trying to get the banana. And when that happens, one of the monkeys is taken out and replaced with a brand new monkey who has no idea what's going on. And when he goes to get the banana, before they could all get sprayed with water, the monkeys in the room, the wet monkeys, they grab the monkey off the ladder so he won't go up. They don't want to get sprayed. And if he continues to try and go up the ladder, they even beat him up so that he doesn't try again. And when he stops going for the banana, another monkey is replaced. The same thing happens until eventually there are no more wet monkeys in the room. They're all dry monkeys who have no experience ever getting sprayed with water. They've never seen a monkey get sprayed with water. There was no monkey in the hallway saying to them, "Hey, George, before you go in the room, I know you're curious, George, but don't go up the ladder because you'll get sprayed with water." They had no knowledge of this, and yet they still won't go for the banana. And if another monkey comes in the room and attempts to go up the ladder, they all beat him up. And they have no idea why. This story is based on research done by Gordon Stevenson in 1967, who studied monkeys to show cultural acquisition of a specific learned response. It shows how we do things without being conscious of it, without knowing why. But even when we are conscious of it, why do we continue to follow rules that we didn't write? It's because conformity feels safe. Our brains are wired for belonging, for staying inside the tribe. It's called normative conformity, the tendency to behave in certain ways in order to be accepted by a group of people. Don't stand out. Don't risk rejection. Don't risk getting beaten up by a wet monkey. Belonging feels safe. It equals survival. And sure, that instinct may have protected our ancestors, but today, that safety comes at a cost. Because when we keep editing ourselves down to fit in, when we keep following all these rules blindly, without question, we pay for it with our creativity, with our joy, and yes, even with our health. A study by the Mayo Clinic shows that people who set clear boundaries, essentially saying no to conformity, have a much lower risk of stress and burnout. And further studies show that staying true to your own beliefs gives you greater resilience, lower anxiety, and greater life satisfaction. So, following your own rules takes you from survival surviving to thriving. So yes, conformity can help us feel safe, but safe doesn't make us feel alive. Conformity is not harmless. It does take a toll, but here's the good news. When researchers study the happiest, healthiest, most resilient people, thrivers, they keep noticing the same pattern. These people are not vigilante rebels breaking every rule. They simply do 4 things differently. And together, those 4 things spell something wonderful. They spell I can, because actually, I can. I stands for identify. Thrivers identify the hidden rules they've been following without noticing. The things that don't make sense, like the monkeys. And thriving, resilience, begins with awareness. You can't rewrite a rule that you don't know you're following. But even if you don't rewrite the rule, even if you continue to follow it, once you are aware, it becomes your choice. C, challenge. Thrivers challenge the automatic labels instead of just accepting them. There's a fable of an ancient farmer who has a horse, and one day his horse runs away, and all of the neighbors come rushing over to sympathize with him, and they say, "Oh, what bad news." And the farmer says, "I don't know if it's bad news or good news." And the next day, the horse comes back, and with her, she brings a friend. So now the farmer has 2 horses, and all the neighbors come rushing over, and they say, "Oh, what good news!" And the farmer says, "I don't know if it's good news or bad news." Well, later that day, the farmer's son decides to take the new horse for a ride, and he falls off and breaks his leg. The neighbors come rushing over, "What bad news?" And the farmer says, "I don't know if it's bad news or good news." Well, the next day, the army, who has been fighting a war that no one wants, it's senseless, people are dying, they come marching through the village, and they say, "We are drafting all able-bodied young men to take them into this war." But the farmer's son can't be taken because he has a broken leg. This farmer is a thriver. He doesn't simply accept those labels. He pauses and he wonders, is this true for me? A is for align. Thrivers align with what is true for them, not what's expected. During my hardest part of my cancer journey, everyone expected me to fight. I embraced. They expected me to stay private. I shared. They expected me to be serious. I laughed. Even if other people were confused, even if it made them uncomfortable, it worked for me. And N stands for nurture. Thrivers nurture their resilience with boundaries and habits that sustain them. Thriving is not one big act of bravery. It is daily nourishment that keeps us strong. So let me repeat. Not all rules are bad, obviously. Thank goodness for safety guidelines and kindness and rules that just make our life easier, right? But so many of the rules that we treat as mandatory are actually wet monkey rules. They make no sense for you. When you live authentically, choosing what is true for you, instead of blindly following expectation and convention, you gain resilience, self-worth, and joy. So the big takeaway is this: defying convention is not about rebellion. It's about saying yes. Yes to creativity. Yes to fulfillment. Yes to health. And yes to living a life that is authentically yours. Thrivers do it every day. They identify the hidden rules, challenge them, align with what is true for them, and nurture their resilience daily. So now, it's your turn. What is one small convention that you will say no to today? Because when you do, you will open the doors to strength that you may not even realize you have. Saying no to convention, say this with me. Actually, I can. Let me hear it. Actually, I can. Thank you so much.